Hi, welcome to Pauper Guru with your host Matthew Stoner. Today, I have a Golgari Aristocrats build around Poison Tipped Archer. He is Golgari in 2. He is a 2/3 with Death Touch and Reach. Whenever a creature dies, doesn't matter who owns it, each opponent loses 1 life. This deck has a lot of death triggers, a lot of sack outlets, and ways to recur them to continuously play. We're going to go through a few different categories and how this deck works. Even a couple of combos in this deck that surprisingly can get way out of hand. We'll start off with all the creatures with Death Touch. There's 12 Death Touch creatures in this deck. Well, 13 if you count the commander. Hired Poisoner is a 1/1 for 1 with Death Touch. Rancid Rats is a 1/1 with Death Touch and Skulk. Skulk it cannot be blocked by creatures with power greater than it. Moss Viper, a 1/1 with Death Touch. Noxious Goodling is a 2/2 with Death Touch for 3. Baneful Aelix is a bestow creature. Bestow is an ability that I can enchant this to one of my creatures to give it the +1/+1 Death Touch, or I can just cast it for 2 mana as a 1/1 with Death Touch. Pitiless Gorgon is a 2/2 with Death Touch for Hybrid Golgari in 1. Giant Scorpion is a 1/3 with Death Touch for 1 black and 2 of anything. Greater Basilisk is 2 green, 3 of anything for a 3/5 with Death Touch. Moonglow Changeling, it has Changeling, it has all creature types in the game. You may pay a black to give it Death Touch, it is a 2/2. Kroggle Stinger, it's a 2/2 with Death Touch for 3. Gaze Wing Cockatoo, it's a 2/2 flying Death Touch for 4. And Norik Cobra, you can pay a green to give it Death Touch on turn. That is all the creatures with Death Touch, and there are ways to recur these and use these in combat to let them die and trigger off your commander dying. There's ability. They 1/1 a lot of things in the deck. Now, onto all the sack outlets of this deck that makes it an Aristocrats deck. Bone Splitter is you sacrifice Bone Splinter. You sacrifice one of your creatures to destroy one of your opponent's creatures for 1 mana. Spark Reaper, 3 mana, sacrifice a creature you control. You gain 1 life and draw a card. Lapon, Lampet, Death's Vigil, it's a 1/1 for 2. You may pay 1, sacrifice a creature you control. Each opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. Salvager and Bloodflow Conserver is the same card. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, put a 1/1 counter on them. Defiant Salvager, you can sacrifice an artifact or a creature. Severed Strands is an additional cost to cast a spell for 2 mana. Sacrifice one of your creatures. Destroy target creature, you gain life equal to the toughness of the destroyed creature of your opponents. Vizier, sacrifice a creature, scry 1. Golgari Rotworm, it's a 5/4 for Golgari and 3. You may pay a black and sacrifice a creature you control. Target opponent loses 1 life. These sack outlets are repeatable, is the reason why I chose a lot of them. Now on to the actual creatures that you want to die in this deck. Whether you kill them off with your stuff, or your opponent kills them off. Either way, their triggers will still occur. That's one good thing about an Aristocrats deck. Either way, it can fuel you and make your plays bigger, and hurt your opponent through the process. Driver of the Dead. Whenever it dies, you get to replace it with a creature power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Sorry about that. One of my dogs barked. Crow of the Dark Tithings. It's a 2/2 flyer. Whenever it enters the battlefield or dies, I mill 2 cards. Good for getting more creatures in my graveyard to keep fueling the deck. Feral Prowler. It's a 1/3. Whenever it dies, I draw a card. Ward-Eye Witch. Whenever a Ward-Eye Witch or another creature I control dies, I scry 1. Dire Fleet Hoarder. Whenever it dies, I get a treasure token. Gleaming Barrier. Whenever it dies, I get a treasure token. Return Centaur. Whenever it dies, target player will mill the top 3 cards of their deck. It is a 1/3. Highland Games is a game. It's a 2/1 for 2. Whenever it dies, I gain 2 life. Putrid Goblin is a 2/2 for 2 with Persist. Whenever I sacrifice it or it dies, it'll come back with a -1/-1 counter on it, so I can get one more use out of it. Discorded Piper. Whenever it dies, it replaces itself with a 0/1 white goat, which then I can sacrifice the goat token to another target to keep the deck rolling. Soul Cage Fiend is a 3/2 for 3. Whenever it dies, each player loses 3 life. And Grim Physician. Whenever it dies, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Those are the sacrificed outlets, and a lot of them are repeatable or have dual purposes when they die. Now on to the recursion cards that allows you to bring some of them back if they don't already have a way of doing so themselves. Cemetery Recruit returns target creature card from your graveyard. If it happens to be a zombie, you draw a card for 2 mana. Desecrator Hag. When it enters the battlefield for 3 mana, you get to return a card from your graveyard with the highest mana cost. No, highest power. My bad. Return from existence. Return 1 creature card from your graveyard, or return 2 creature cards if they share the same type. And in this deck there's a lot of zombies, so I can recur a couple of zombies to keep playing. Pulse of Myra, to return a creature card or land and gain 6 life. This could also be used as kind of a pseudo fog to gain 6 life to stop probably a couple of swings if necessary. A new card from Theros Beyond Death is the Omen of Death. For 1 mana, it's a flash enchantment to return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and you may pay a black into anything to sacrifice it and scry 2. Cadaver Imp enters the battlefield, returns a creature card from my graveyard to my hand, and it's a 1/1 flyer for 3. Now, on to the rest of the deck that doesn't really have a sack outlet, so to speak, but they support the sack outlets and the overall strategy of this deck. Salimgar Scavenger. As additional cost, you may sacrifice. Oh, it is a sack outlet. I am apologizing. Whenever another creature I control dies, I put a 1/1 counter onto this creature. Golgari Locket. It taps for green or black, where I might pay 4 and tap and sacrifice to draw 2 cards. Now, on to all sorts of creatures that let me draw cards. Shaman of the Springs enters the battlefield and draws me a card for 4 mana, and it's a 2/2. Dust Legion Zealot. For 2 mana, enter the battlefield, I'll lose 1 life and draw a card. Generous Stray. For 3 mana, I draw a card when it enters. Elvish Visionary. For 2 mana, enters the battlefield, I'll draw a card. Phyrexian Rager. Enters the battlefield, I'll lose 1 life and draw a card. Now on to some of the removal in this deck. That's not necessarily just mine. Diabolic Edict. Target player sacrifices a creature. I can choose myself and sacrifice a creature to still trigger my commander. Hunt Down. Target creature must block this turn if able. So I can swing in with a Death Touch creature after I play this and force you to block. Ravenous Bite. One of my creatures deals damage to one of your creatures, but it's kind of like Fight, except my creature doesn't take any damage from it. But with all the Death Touch creatures in this deck, this will just act as an immediate kill spell. Bake into Pie. Destroy target creature and replace itself with a food token that I can later sacrifice for life when it's necessary. Dead Weight. Enchant a creature gets -2/-2. and Tragic Slip. Target creature is -1/-1, but if a creature died this turn, target creature gets -13/-13 instead. Now, onto the rest of the actual deck that allows it to kind of play with what's already going on. Sultai Scavenger. It has Delve, so I can exile 5 cards from my graveyard and pay 1 black mana to have a 3/3 flyer. Mortipede is a 4/1 that I can pay 3 to have all creatures block it this turn if able. Golgari Brownscale, whenever it is discarded from my hand to the graveyard, I may gain 2 life. And it also has Dredge 2, where I can choose to mill the top 2 cards of my deck to return this to my hand instead of drawing at my draw step. Renegade's Getaway, target permanent becomes indestructible until the turn I get a 1/1 servo out of it. I can sacrifice later and use this to save my commander in various situations, such as Pestilence, Murder, Lightning Bolt, stuff that would essentially kill my commander off. Gurmag Angler, exile 6. I can remove 6 cards from my graveyard and play it for 1 black mana. It's a 5/5. Urwhite Trooper, I can discard a creature card and give it +2/+2 and trample. I can only activate that effect once per turn. It'd be nice if I could stack it, but until end of turn by throwing away a creature out of my hand, he becomes a 4/4 trampler. Gnaw to the Bone, for 3 mana, I gain 2 life for each creature in my graveyard. I can flashback it for 3 mana and play it again. Aspect of Gorgon, for 3 mana enchanted creature gets +1/+3 and Death Touch. Deadly Grub, it's a 3/1 for 3 that with Vanishing 3, and when the 3rd Vanishing counter is removed, it dies and replaces itself with a 6/1 with Shroud. Veriska Dragger is a 3/3 with Cycling and Unearth. I can pay 2 to cycle it, pay 2 to unearth it for 1 turn. Not only do I get a filter out of my hand, I can also make a sack outlet later when I need to. And one of the final cards in the deck before I discuss one of the combo of the deck, Death's Greeter. Whenever another creature goes to the graveyard from play, I gain 1 life. So, while I'm sitting there draining all my opponent's life, I'm standing there gaining up incremental life throughout the match. Now on to the actual combo of this entire deck. It's a 4-piece combo that I used to run in regular Pauper. I ran 4 of each of these in the deck and some removal on top of that. Sanitarium Skeleton is a 1/2. I can pay 3 mana to return it to my hand. Bloodbriar is a 2/3. Whenever a permanent I control dies, it gets a 1/1 counter. Gavnian Hollow is a 2/4 for 4. Whenever a creature I control dies, I put a 1/1 counter on it. Okay, now the card that kind of makes all this work together. Voracious Knoll. I may pay 2 mana and sacrifice a creature to put 2 1/1 counters on this creature. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to sacrifice Sanitarium Skeleton to Voracious Knoll, which will trigger Gavnian Hollow and Bloodbriar to get additional counters. While the following turn, I can pay 3 to pop Sanitarium Skeleton back, cast it. So essentially for 6 mana, I'm putting counters on 3 creatures and they're getting much bigger to swing in for game. That is the basic combo to the deck. The only real combo to the deck other than just sacrificing my stuff to kill off everyone else's stuff. Now on to the land bases. There is 21 swamps, 10 forests, and Evolving Wilds, Command Tower, Warp Landscape, and Golgari Guildgate. That is the mana basis of the deck. I hope you liked, share, subscribe, and everyone please be safe out there.